That's gone.
Brandon, do you want me to take it? I haven't watched the videos.
I do. Yeah.
You want me to take it after watching the videos?
I want you to take it before I get back from vacation
Which is?
next Monday. Well, actually Friday. I'd probably rather just have you take it right now. Well, let's get that content in. Okay, so I'm going to start that again for those that are watching this recorded. Am I not there still? Oh, my webcam. Sorry, I thought you were talking about my screen.
You're all right. I'll get it taken care of. You keep talking.
Okay, so again, please take the survey. It really takes like 2 minutes to take the survey. You can get through it very, very quickly, and I need more than I have 7 of you that have taken it. So at least one of you hasn't. I need it in order for me to be able to get credit for stuff in the end. So I'm pleading, please take it. Take the 2 or 3 minutes to help me out with that. In fact, do it before you start on your thing. It's that fast. It won't be a big deal. If you haven't been to all of them, that's fine. It doesn't matter. In fact, if you've only been to 1 or 2 of them, that's fine. There's a spot on there where you click which ones you actually attended, and we figure that into how the attitude was about different things. So please do that. Okay, today's going to be just down, nitty-gritty, getting things done. So if you go to the blog, you'll see I've assembled a small army of documents for you to look at on this. And I'm just going to sit up here and have at it. So let's first take a look at the instructions for this. I've copied and pasted them out of the CTS onto the front. That's okay. I'm not offended at all by that today. Better today than other days. Okay, so first of all, here's the instructions for classes, the breakdown for classes. I highlighted a couple of major things. The paper length and portfolio expectation is half of what is required for a self-designed project, which means nothing because none of us have any idea how big a project really should be, a portfolio should be. But I can give you an idea because it tells you that you should have down here a 6 to 8 page paper or equivalent portfolio. So your portfolio should be about the equivalent of 6 to 8 pages of work. When you figure your introduction is going to be about 2 pages, there's not much left after that. So I really think that quite a few of you can get through this in 2 hours. This is something that you should be aware of. A class project should not be just a rewrite of class notes. Each class project should document the participants' efforts to implement and apply elements of the class into their own assignment. If you look at that second half, I think we're meeting that requirement really well. We're showing how you took the class information, embedded it into Gospel Library, and that's how it's the application of things. I'll show you how to word that when we get into the example. And then they have this. Sorry, it didn't copy into my blog very well, and I was tired enough I didn't care to fix it. But you can see the standards for it, though, on what they're looking for in different things. My favorite part, the bibliography. They don't care what format or whatever you use on it. So I've taken a slightly different version, but it's consistent on everything that we have. You can see the way that they do it. Thomas S. Monson, Pathways to Perfection, page 6 and 7. They're very loose on how they judge your formatting. So that's good. Okay, let's go back up. If you haven't filled out the form to get approval for the whole class yet, I've gone one step further for you to help you. These are the questions they will ask you. I don't care if you copy and paste my answers. On this one, I don't feel bad about that at all. From there on out, you probably should come up with your own stuff. Yeah, so as promised, I gave you a list of quotes that would work really well to write this out. The most important one is the Elder Ballard quote. Where is it? Is it at the top? Inoculate. I saw the word. Yep, that's the one. That's the most important one. That's the one that breaks down how we need to know the essays like the back of your hand. If you're trying to explain in the introduction what the project is, that's your go-to. Okay, so I sat down on Saturday because what better way to spend your Saturday than writing up a certification project that you don't get credit for? So I wrote up a whole certification. It was before I remembered that I only had to do half the work on a regular one. And I wrote it up, and I wrote my little abstract and table of contents, and the introduction on this one ends up being about 3 pages. And you can see I put in Elder Uchtdorf, and I have a clever little start, and all of these things, and I get about 3 pages in, and again, my wife, I went to her, and she said, too long. Oh, okay, I'll see you in another hour. But I went upstairs again, and actually the second version only took about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to put together. So I recommend you go by the second version. Here's what I did. There's going to be, it used to say in the project portfolio stuff that you needed to have at least 5 sources. They backed off on that now because that's ridiculous. And now it just says you have to have, I think, adequate sources is what it says. Here's how I make sure to blend the two. You can see in my intro, and I'm just going to read to you my introduction. Over the past 5 years, the general authorities of the church have increasingly voiced concern over members who are struggling with doubts related to the church's history and doctrine. And there's 4 sources to back up that statement. That's the way that they tell you to write in academics. That's what I recommend you do. Go in, make sure you know what the quotes say out of that little document I put together, and then copy in the reference to the source, put it in the bibliography, and be done with it. If it's a 6-page paper they're looking for, and you're doing a portfolio, your introduction going over 2 pages really is kind of silly. So make it short. While the majority of the council is directed towards those who are struggling, in 2016, Elder M. Russell Ballard spoke to one group that he felt had a particular responsibility to step up and resolve such concerns. He said, "The efforts to inoculate our young people will often fall to you CES teachers. With those thoughts in mind, find time to think about your opportunities and your responsibilities. Church leaders today are fully conscious of the unlimited access to information, and we are making extraordinary efforts to provide accurate context and understanding of the teachings of the Restoration. A prime example of this effort is the 11 Gospel Topics essays on LDS.org that provide balanced and reliable interpretation of the facts for controversial and unfamiliar church-related subjects. It is important that you know the content of these essays like you know the back of your hand. If you have questions about them, then please ask someone who has studied them and understands them. In other words, seek learning even by study and also by faith as you master the content of these essays." In the portfolio standards, it says you need a clear purpose statement. Here we are in this one. I didn't put it quite as a purpose statement. You might even say the purpose of this project is. But I put that direction from Elder Ballard was the primary motivation to complete this project. There's your purpose. And then here's the explanation. And you can go pretty close to copying this. Don't copy it exactly because we're trying to have higher level of integrity, but this project consisted of a class of on the. Why are you laughing at that? I'll be honest. I think as we're going through this is a chance to document what you've done. I don't think it's so much about your writing skills. That's why I'm saying it like that. This project consisted of a class on the Gospel Topics essays in which the instructor and participants explored the best and most up-to-date research supporting the contents of each essay. The class consisted of 10 75-minute sessions with an 11th day utilized to compile and submit this portfolio. Throughout the course, participants were provided with a shared document that contained a long list of quotes from scholarly sources and were asked to insert the quotes into the margins of the essays using the Gospel Library app in hopes of being better prepared to resolve the concerns of future students. Okay. Oh, we lost it. This is, I think, the most important paragraph. Respectfully, S&I brethren are brutal in reviewing. About half of them are. Half of them just say, great job, and the other half find everything they can to tear apart in your portfolio. So you need to be very clear in explaining why your portfolio is sufficient. So watch what I do in here. In accordance with the instructions outlined for class-based portfolios, because they probably haven't read them. This document contains examples of work that were completed throughout the duration of the course, but is only intended to be half the size of a traditional certification portfolio. Make sure you put that in there. I'm very confident that makes a difference. To demonstrate the value of the work completed, the examples of work cited will begin with a short list of potential questions that a student may have regarding each of the essays. Immediately after the questions, the portfolio will utilize a series of screenshots demonstrating the quotes that have been embedded in the essays that are useful in resolving those questions. Do we get the idea of the introduction? That's 70% of the work for the portfolio. Then you're going to take screenshots and you have to write a conclusion. The conclusion is real soft. So examples. Are Mormons Christians? Why don't Mormons believe in creeds? What should I think about statements made by early church leaders that just don't seem true to be? If the Bible has all truth, how can we accept the Book of Mormon? That's all you got to put. 3 questions a student might ask, And now you're going to put in 3 screenshots that show how you can resolve it. I did all 10 essays with 3 questions, and it took probably 45 minutes, I would say. So then you can see we've got the quotes embedded in here. You might explain a little bit that the essay's on the left and the quotes are on the right. That might help them a little bit. But yeah, translation of the Book of Abraham. Where did the Book of Abraham come from? Why does it feel like the Book of Abraham abruptly stops? Why doesn't the text around the facsimiles that has been translated by scholars line up with the text of the Book of Abraham? 3 quotes. That's all you need to do for your portfolio. Questions so far?
We can come up with our own 3 questions.
Absolutely. If you want to use those
Why
questions,
is it not bad to be those?
no, if you want to use those questions, go for it. I tried to pick quotes on mine. One of the things that shaped which questions I chose was quotes where I could show the whole thing, including the reference. I think that helps. So let's fast forward. You can see it adds up to a lot of pages really quickly, which makes it look nice for you. If you haven't caught on, I'm more into the content of the essays than the write-up. There's a bibliography at the end. Again, you can just copy those right out of the quotes document I gave you. Here's my conclusion. I'm actually going to put that down to a new page. The questions and concerns of students who attend seminaries and institutes are important to them. In completing this course, I have realized the importance of knowing the gospel topics essays like the back of your hand, if you want to be able to help students resolve their concerns. Likewise, I have come to realize the importance of the gospel library, and I've learned to utilize it in better ways. Moving forward, I hope to continue to meet the call found in Doctrine and Covenants 88, which teaches, as all have not faith, seek diligently and teach one another words of wisdom. Yea, seek ye out of the best books words of wisdom. Seek learning even by study and also by faith. In the future, I hope to examine challenging topics including religious liberty and same-gender attraction, compiling resources from scholarly sources and storing them in the Gospel Library app. In so doing, I'm confident that I will be a better religious educator and better fulfill the objectives of seminaries and institutes of religion. Throw the word objectives in there a few times and it really makes it seem a little bit more legitimate.
Just copy and paste that too.
No, do not copy and paste what you learned from the class. Okay, that's a portfolio. Do we get it? Do we understand where we're at? I'm around. If you're like me, it's really hard to write anything when there's other people in the room sometimes. If you want to spread out around the building, that's fine. I'll be in here if you want to come back and ask questions. Yeah, questions before we dive in? All those documents are shared and ready to go.
Those screenshots were of your iPad.
Yes.
What's the easiest way to do that?
I took all the screenshots on my iPad and then just put them all into a file, and I actually would go through and sent 10 emails just to keep track of what I was doing, and just sent them over to my.
Command shift forward with screenshot, or command shift.
Yeah, I'm not doing it on my computer, but I'm saying it just looks a little different.
Yeah, either way is fine. You can do it from LDS.org if you're more comfortable with that. In fact, frankly, if you haven't put the quotes in yet, shame on you, but you can go back into the quotes documents from each day, pull the quotes you want, and just say, here's the quotes I inserted. I didn't put together an example of a PowerPoint, but I think you guys get the idea of what a PowerPoint would look like. One slide shows 3 questions. The next 3 slides shows 3 screenshots.
Do you need to do that as well?
That would be in replacement of the examples of work. It's just different formats for the middle.
You can type it all up on PowerPoint instead of Word document. So you can
But
write
regardless,
it,
you need an introduction and a conclusion.
Right.
And a
So is your
bibliography. So
introduction on a PowerPoint be multiple slides? No. Or just one?
you can put it on one slide. That'd be fine. Yeah, it doesn't say you can't. Okay.